It's by far the most raucous, rambunctious, rebellious rendition of the works of William Shakespeare ever. It all started in 1981. Where else? San Francisco, with half-hour versions of Hamlet. That gave birth to the Reduced Shakespeare Company, three guys who decided to revere the Bard of Avon in a unique and inimitable way by performing all of his works in one evening.
You bite your thumb at me, sir!
No, sir, I do but bite my thumb.
You bite your thumb at me, sir!
No, sir, I do not bite my thumb at you. Sir, I do but bite my thumb. Do you quarrel, sir?
Quarrel, sir? No, sir!
Well, if you do, sir, I am for you. I serve as good a man as you.
Ha! No better!
Yes! Better!
You lie!
Fellas, the Reduced Shakespeare Company was spawned. Great word. I knew you'd love that.
Say that?
Spawned in 1981.
Yes.
Did it really grow out of half-hour versions of Hamlet on the streets of San Francisco?
Well,
Yes.
in short, yes.
Is the short answer yes?
Yes.
Renaissance festivals
Oh,
in
okay.
particular in
All right.
Northern and Southern California. And in 1981 and 82, there was a 20-minute Hamlet. And then in 83, a 20-minute Romeo and Juliet. And then in 1987, the company thought that it should do the complete works of William Shakespeare in an hour at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. Because there were only 35 more plays to go. How tough could it be?
Absolutely.
And
And you totally trashed Hamlet anyway, so why not move on?
That's right. And Hamlet's the most difficult.
You have been described, your group I would say, as classic theater, left-wing literary analysis, and punk rock sensibility.
Oh, I thought he was going to say that other thing we heard last night, which
Oh,
you can't
yeah,
say on
no.
the air.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
say that. That's
Yeah, and that's not true anyway.
no.
We were never even near there. So,
And I'm getting a lawyer,
I
first
haven't
of all.
seen a sheep
Yeah.
in ages.
It's just so
So-
wrong.
That's just wrong.
But
oh, there
that,
was that woolite in your dressing room. What was that about?
yeah.
It was, that's no.
She
That's just
lathers down with
circumstantial?
it before-
Circumstantial?
Lathers down with
Yeah.
it after the show.
Yeah.
Where did that saying come from? I mean, that pretty much sums up the show, I think.
I don't know where it came from. I think it came from one of the minds of one of our great press people.
But it does. I mean, it really sums it up nicely.
Well, we were all trained. We've all have a semblance of classical training. We've studied Shakespeare. We've suffered all the boring lectures that everybody else has suffered about Shakespeare. Reed and I both acted, and I directed Shakespeare, and I've even taught Shakespeare. And
I wrote a few of Shakespeare's plays.
and
too,
Matt,
so-
and Matt has heard of
Cardenio,
Shakespeare,
right?
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, I've heard of Shakespeare.
So
Yeah, so-
Well, you went to school with him, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, Matt went to school with
Yeah.
Shakespeare.
Tom Shakespeare. You used to
15th
beat me up.
generation?
Yeah.
Yes. 4 times removed.
And
So
thank
it's-
goodness for that.
So it seems only appropriate that we would then take our modern, postmodern punk rock sensibility and just skewer it.
Is she a Capulet? Aye, so I fear. The more is my unrest. Matt, what are you doing?
The balcony scene.
What soft, what light through yonder window break?
Oh, Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou Romeo? Did I that father refuse thy name? Or thou not be but sworn my love, and thou no longer be a Capulet? But what's the name anyway? Now we will call it nose. When in the name would still smell. I'll remember.
You know, one of the things that I like that you do is that you have recreated Elizabethan times in a way. If you harken back to the
Because
days,
of the way we smell.
that's part of it,
Okay.
yes. I mean, you really do. You're reminiscent of the old infield days. But really, you think about the Globe Theater, and the cheap seats were the infield, the people who stood just before the stage. And there was a lot of reaction. There was hissing, booing. There was a lot of interaction between the actors and the infield. And you have brought back Elizabethan theater as we knew it.
Absolutely.
Really, you have to applaud yourselves.
And back then, men played women.
All right, we will.
Yeah,
Whatever
and men
you say
played
we have
women
to
back
do.
then, and we have Matt, who's more or less a man, playing the women's
And
parts.
I'm wondering why he's been relegated.
Just for
More or
guess.
less.
Just relax.
You want me to prove my manhood here?
You meant more
I
on
think
the
just
more
take
side.
less as opposed to more. That's why you put it second.
Okay.
Why have you been relegated to the virginal roles? Because you're the younger.
Because I have 2 sisters.
Okay.
Yes, and that's all. They interviewed my sisters, and then they gave me the job. That's all it was. They didn't even know me, and I fit the dresses and.
Well, Matt, you wear dresses in private life. I mean, let's admit.
Well, you know, I just want to show that wearing dresses is okay as an art form. It's not bad, or as a way to go out.
And while we're here in Washington, he's actually looking for a job with the FBI.
Yeah.
So
Is
we're
he
going to see.
really?
Yeah.
You had great success at the Edinburgh Festival. Did it surprise you? And you performed right on the Bard's own turf to great laughter and reaction. Were you surprised at the overwhelming response that you got in England?
Well, we sort of expected to be thrown out of the country.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, really.
And we were welcomed with open arms.
Yeah.
I think we've decided that we do Shakespeare the way they would expect three guys from America would do Shakespeare. You know, it's basically we don't know what we're doing. We're just goofing around, and they've had Shakespeare crammed down their throat even more than we have in school, and so they love to see the pedestal get kicked out from under them. And,
Also, they have a much better ability to laugh at themselves generally as a people than Americans do.
They love scandal. And
They love scandal. They love making fun of their national symbols. And even though, I mean, they really have it wrong. Shakespeare is America's greatest playwright, which
Yeah.
they don't really know.
Well.
But, you know, it's our job to convey that to them.
And that three Americans spent that much time researching their heroes.
Their heroes.
They
we
find
spent 10, 15 minutes.
Easily.
There's no
Easily.
question, and
At least.
really, and pirating some of the great lines of Shakespeare and embellishing them in a way that heretofore has never been done before.
And thank goodness for that.
No question. And I noticed that you performed this all over the world, including New Jersey. I mean, that's a
New
Well,
stage.
Jersey,
Yeah.
All over
we have
Princeton, where else?
Englewood Cliffs.
Englewood Cliffs, the Young Man's Hebrew Association of
North Jersey.
North Jersey, yeah.
That's right.
So we performed at all the hot spots.
That's right.
Is it true that you tried Dickens and Longfellow, but there just wasn't enough grist for the mill there, so you had to move on to someone who was just a little bit more of a prolific writer?
The truth is that for a long time we had no idea what our second show would be. And so we thought up two joke answers, which would be a short Longfellow or Little Dickens. But we never seriously considered doing that. And so finally we came up with American history. We tried to lampoon things that it has to, I think, two main characteristics. It has to be taken very seriously, like Shakespeare or American history, and people have to be familiar with it, because it's very difficult to lampoon something that people aren't familiar with. Like if we did, say, George Bernard Shaw. Well, most people aren't that familiar. So you'd have to first explain it and then lampoon it. Whereas with Shakespeare, American history, well, everybody's sort of generally familiar, and so it's easier to make fun of.
And you've selected some of the great ones like Titus Andronicus and made it into a cooking show, which I think had particular merit with one of our more acknowledged cooking enthusiasts here. Yeah, it was quite rewarding, and of course next to her home base of production, just 60 miles away, I'm sure she'll catch wind of it.
Oh, good.
Good.
Oh,
good. Yeah, good. Yeah, I'm sure.
Come to me and receive the blood. Now, first of all, you want to make a nice clean incision from the carotid artery to the jugular vein, like so!
Really gross, my God.
Now, be sure to use a big bowl, because the human body has about 4 quarters, and you don't want to miss a single drop. And when he is dead, which should be... Now, I will grind his bones into powder small, and with this egg will be different, and in that paste let his vile head be baked at about 350 degrees.
Physical humor is such a big part of your show. I can't believe you're going to try to turn these into tapes, fellas. Come on. I mean, really.
Audio tapes, you mean?
Yes.
Well, we have to. We actually did. We have the BBC World Service commissioned the Reduced Shakespeare Radio Show, and what we found, and they wanted 6 half-hour episodes, and so what is that? 180 minutes. We looked through the script and we saw that there was really only about 18 minutes that would translate to radio, and the rest of it was strictly physical. So what we did is that we had to write 120. Oh no, what is that? I'm doing that.
I didn't know there was going to be math involved.
I'm sorry. Anyway, we had to write a lot more material for the radio show.
Audience participation's a big part of this. Have you ever been surprised by the kinds of reactions that you get from people?
Constantly.
Constantly.
That's what makes it fresh.
When you bring them up on stage, I mean, you're really opening a Pandora's box, aren't you?
We've had a couple great stories about that. One time in Dublin, Ireland, there was a Catholic priest in the front row in full regalia, and we had a great debate at intermission whether we should bring him up to play Ophelia, and of course we decided we should. So we brought him up on stage and slapped a blonde wig on him, and he was happy to play Ophelia, and we took a photo because we knew none of our friends would believe it. And then we sent the photo to the Vatican, and we still get about like $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
Because we're blackmailing, the whole
Which is great, because that money is going to fund our new show, which is the Bible, the complete Word of God
that
abridged.
should be really interesting.
Yeah. So we think that that'll be a nice way to use that money.
I'm sorry, fellas, but I've always enjoyed the Shakespeare comedies, and I was somewhat taken back.
Why have you enjoyed the Shakespeare comedies?
I was somewhat taken back that you've lumped them into one conglomerate comedy. And I know it provides the ultimate mistaken identity here.
Right.
But come on, I mean, one comedy for all? Is that fair?
What special aspect of the comedies did we overlook?
Well, I just think all the heroines are wonderful. Yeah, the shipwreck. Well, you get, well, that's true. You get it all in there.
Just
The babies,
swimming.
the coincidence at the end, the parents showing up at the end. I mean, Gilbert and Sullivan wrote some great operettas, but they're all the same. Wait, no, Shakespeare wrote a lot of great comedies, but they're all the same.
Meanwhile, the 6 brothers fall in love with 6 Italian sisters, 3 of whom are contentious, sharp-tongued little shrews, while the other 3 are submissive, air-headed little bimbos.
Act 3. The shipwrecked, identical daughters of the Duke, wash up on the shores of Italy, disguise themselves as men, become pages to the shrews, and matchmakers to the Duke's brothers' sons. They lead the lovers into the forest, where on a midsummer's night, a bunch of mischievous fairies squeeze the aphrodisiac juice of a hermaphroditic flower into the shrews' eyes, causing them to fall in love with their own pages, who in turn have fallen in love with the Duke's brothers' sons, while the Queen of the Fairies seduces a jackass, and they all have a lovely bisexual animalistic orgy.
Are you surprised that so few people have read King John?
Not at all.
Why should they?
Again, why should they? This is the point we're trying to make. If we accomplish anything in our show, and I'm not arguing that we do, by the way. I don't think we do accomplish anything. But if we do, it shows that Shakespeare needn't be so intimidating, that one can admit to not having read any of his plays, and that after seeing our show, they can then admit happily and go win bets and bars that they've seen all 37 of Shakespeare's plays.
Okay, and the guy was a genius, and he wrote great plays, but
Yes.
that's not to say
That he
every
didn't have
one
to
is a
do-
masterpiece
This is true.
either.
And
Yeah,
also,
you're bonkers.
the guy was a genius, yeah, but we only know that 400 years later. In his day, he was the showman. He was the popular showman of his day. And so I think critics and scholars have forgotten that. And if anything, we want to put the shake back into Shakespeare, you know, make him popular again. And by God, that's what we're here to do.
The victory is mine!
Oh, but he's hit by King John, that really performed player from the 12th century, and he's killing them out there. This could well be the end of the War of the Roses cycle.
King John is in the clear.
My soul hath elbow room.
He's at the 25, the 20, the 15. Oh no, he's poisoned at the 10-yard line. We're placing him now as number 72, King Lear.
Divide we our kingdom in 3. Cordelia, you go long.
All right, now penalty markers down. Fictional character on the field, but Lear is disqualified.
Thank you for joining us on National Arts. I hope you enjoyed the farcical humor of the Reduced Shakespeare Company and the marvelous scope and drama of Miss Saigon. Until next time, remember, art was meant to be appreciated, so you be a part of it. Hit it.
Here's a story of a brother by the name of Othello. You know, he liked white women and he liked green jello.
And a punk named Iago who made himself a menace because he didn't like Othello, the Moor of Venice.
Now, Othello got married to a chick named Desdemona.
He took her for the wars and he left her alone.
Desdemona.
He left her alone.
He didn't write a letter, and he didn't telephone her. Now, Desdemona, she was faithful. She was chastity tight. She was the daughter of a duke.
She was totally white, but Iago was a freak from the planet Venus. He was crafty.
He was sly.
He had a big sword.
Yes, he did. He said, I'm gonna chef the Moor.
How you gonna do it? Tell us.
Well, I know Striker Flaws and he's
Too damn jealous.
I need a dupe, I need a dope, I need a kind of a schmo.
So he found a chump sucker by the name of Cassio.
And he plants on him Desdemona's handkerchief.
So Othello gets to wondering just maybe if, while he be out fighting,
Commanding an army,
Our Desi and Cass playing hide the salami. Salami.
So we come back home and stuck a pillow in her face.
And he kills her and soliloquizes about his disgrace.
But there's Amelia at the door.
Who we met in Act 4.
Say, you big dummy, she weren't no whore. She was pure, she was clean, she was virginal too.
So why'd you have to go and make her face turn blue?
It's true.
It's you.
Now, what you gonna do when Othello says?
Damn, this is getting pretty scary.
So he pulled out his blade and committed Harry Carey.
Iago got caught, but he probably copped a plea.
Loaded up his bags.
And moved to Beverly
Hills, that is.